All right, guys, week 2 of Green Bay Packers OTAs have begun with the second practice and final practice that's open to the media. The Packers have been practicing since early last week, with the only sessions being open to media last Wednesday and today. Then, of course, in about a week, the Packers do have mandatory minicamp from June 10th through the 12th. So, of course, I have a ton of highlights from today's OTA practice. I will also be putting out another video going over all the main notes and takeaways after today's practice has concluded, and wanted to give a big shout out to all the Packers reporters that are at practice taking these video clips themselves. I'm going to put all their links down in the description below. Definitely go give them a follow over there on X. Of course, we are always starving for anything Green Bay Packers, myself included, so even just warm-up clips and practice clips, it gets the hype going. You get to see the new players in the Packers green and gold. If you do happen to be a new viewer here and want to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers this offseason, I'd highly suggest going down and clicking the subscribe button. It's absolutely free to do and takes 2 seconds out of your day. You'll get everything you need for the Green Bay Packers here on this channel throughout the entire offseason. So definitely go down and click that subscribe button. So without further ado, let's dive down into the highlights and bring up the screen. And first, I have some clips of running back Marshawn Lloyd. Last week during the first OTA, it was said that Marshawn Lloyd was not practicing. Well, he has returned and he looks really good. Again, when a player's out of OTAs, it doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, this player has a significant injury. But of course, there's always cause for concern with someone like Marshawn Lloyd, who last year had like 3 separate injuries and really didn't play at all. I think had some snaps week 2 against the Colts, and that's it. And I have high expectations for Marshawn Lloyd. You know, we drafted him in the 3rd round out of USC last year. And this is a guy that can become a number 2 running back, a complimentary, a good one at that, behind Josh Jacobs. And of course, that's not downplaying Emmanuel Wilson or Chris Brooks. I think this Packers running back room is extremely deep, but I have high expectations for Marshawn Lloyd, and I'm just really hoping he can stay healthy. He looks really good here. He looks quick. He looks fast. I just really hope he can stay on the field. Obviously, this is a practice without pads, and a lot of players with injury concerns, it's like the moment the pads come on, they end up with some injuries or some lingering issues, but it doesn't look like anything's lingering here. Again, when they're out from OTAs, it also doesn't state what they're out with, what injury that may be. It could have just been precautionary. It could have even been a personal matter. We really don't know, but Marshawn Lloyd, nonetheless, is at practice today, and he looks good. And of course, we have some clips of Packers first-round rookie wide receiver Matthew Golden. I think the Guardian cap he's wearing here is a new addition. I don't believe he was wearing that last week. I don't know if that's anything to monitor, or maybe he just saw Romeo Doubs wearing it and said, hey, why don't I give it a try, right? I know a lot of people are always interested in his equipment. People are saying his helmet's too big. They don't like the number 22. I just want Matthew Golden to come out here and play football, and I think he's going to be a tremendous wide receiver for us, what he can bring to this offense. I had the pleasure of talking to him in the pre-draft process there in Green Bay, and he was one of my favorite wide receiver prospects coming out of this draft. Really didn't expect the Packers to finally get a receiver in the first round for the first time since 2002, but they did so with Matthew Golden, and he's going to be implemented into this offense early and often, that's for sure. Another draft pick that's really exciting is, of course, Savion Williams, who they drafted out of TCU in the 3rd round there. Really nice snap down at the top of the route, and then you see the little bit of a juggle. That's Savion's issue, right? The guy is such a freak athlete, and he makes insane plays, but he'll bobble a pass just like that. Gotta get it cleaned up. Get him on the jugs machine. Him and Dontavian Wicks should just be jugs machine for like 2 hours straight every single practice. Honestly, all of these wide receivers after all the drops we went through last season. But man, Savion Williams, very excited for him. As you see, he's wearing the red non-contact jersey. Not really sure why. Quarterbacks usually wear that jersey, but you know, we did know Savion did play some quarterback in high school and even had a passing touchdown last year for TCU, but I don't think that's the reason why he's in the red. I think it's just non-contact, but he does look good here. Here's a clip of Jordan Love throwing a warm-up pass to some of the tight ends. Here in this clip, you have Luke Musgrave, another player similarly to Marshawn Lloyd. We just want this guy to remain healthy. We know what we have in Tucker Kraft, one of the up-and-coming better tight ends in the NFL, and if Luke Musgrave can play up to, you know, his 2nd-round draft pick that the Packers spent on him, you know, kind of saw some of those flashes in year 1, had some injuries last season. If he can play up to that potential, the Packers have, you know, a extremely dangerous duo at tight end. And here is Tucker Kraft catching a go ball from, I think it was Taylor Elgersma throwing that football there, but Man, Tucker Kraft, I know there's a lot of mouths to feed on this offense, especially with the drafting of Matthew Golden and Savion Williams. But when you looked at the stats last year and compared, Tucker Kraft's yardage and all that compared to how many targets he got, or lack thereof, should I say, man, try to get this guy the ball as much as possible this upcoming season, because if he had many targets as Brock Bowers, he'd be on the same level as him in terms of yardage and touchdowns. He was that good last year, and the Packers need to continue to feed Tucker Kraft. Here is a new Packers wide receiver, Sam Brown, out of the University of Miami. They just signed him last week. He was an undrafted free agent, rocking the number 17 there. I feel like this number has been passed around a ton lately. Brandon McManus also wears 17. He did also return to practice today, but there's only so many numbers to go around with a 90-man roster with so many retired numbers. So there's going to be some duplicates here, but here's a quick clip of Sam Brown, again, out of the University of Miami. He was actually a Houston transfer the year prior. He played at Houston 2 years prior and was the number one receiver at Houston, while Matthew Golden was also on the roster. So Packers likely watching Matthew Golden's tape back at Houston, inevitably saw some Sam Brown and said, hey, let's get this guy in the building for camp. Here's Packers quarterback Taylor Elgersma throwing a deep pass to Jaden Reed here on the outside. Nice over-the-shoulder catch by Jaden Reed. Elgersma going against Sean Clifford for quarterback number 3, potential practice squad quarterback. Also realized Sean Clifford behind him rocking number 16. I don't recall him switching to 16 unless I missed that. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below. Did Sean Clifford switch to 16, or is he just rocking 16 today? I have no idea. Maybe I missed it. But there's Taylor Elgersma throwing a pass to Jaden Reed. We'll be fighting for that practice squad quarterback spot over Clifford. Here we have Packers second-round rookie Anthony Belton going through a lineman drill here. Last week in practice, he only took reps at left tackle number 2, right tackle number 2, and right tackle number 3. Still waiting for all the practice notes to come out as I'm filming this video. I would like to see if the Packers will eventually let him take some guard reps. I know I keep saying that, and that's where I view him as in the future. But maybe year one, they just view him as a depth swing tackle, and they keep Jordan Morgan at right guard, because it doesn't seem like that time is over for him just yet. But Anthony Belton, excited to see where they can implement him into this offensive line. Here's the defensive lineman going through some drills, and to the left here, you can see new defensive line coach DeMarcus Covington. This is another very, very important piece to this defense, is DeMarcus Covington coaching these guys up and getting the most out of them, getting the most out of guys like Lucas Van Ness, who we didn't see jump like we wanted to in year 2, getting the most out of Rashawn Gary, right? New draft picks, Barron Sorrell and Colin Oliver. And I saw Oliver in some defensive end drills today as well. I think we can all agree that Jason Rebrovich didn't do a great job last year. So I think we're all really hoping DeMarcus Covington can come bring that energy back into that defensive line room. I mean, he was a defensive coordinator for the Patriots last year. So, no stage is too high for him. And I'm really hoping he can get the most out of these defensive linemen here. Here's a clip of linebacker Edgerrin Cooper hitting the sled. I mean, we can only talk about him so much. I'll continue to talk about him because I'm extremely excited for Edgerrin Cooper. And then Isaiah Simmons. This is a very intriguing signing. I know I've said it multiple times, but this is like a non-typical Packers offseason signing. And I'm interested. Like, this guy could surprise a lot of us. We've seen the Packers take players from other teams like Keyshawn Nixon as free agents that everyone kind of forgets about. And Isaiah Simmons, I believe, still only like 26 years old. And we know the athleticism he has, the versatility he has. And maybe the Packers and Jeff Hafley can get the most out of him and can revitalize his career. If that happens, and the Packers then have Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper, Isaiah Simmons, Isaiah McDuffie in this linebacker room, man, that could be a dangerous group there. Another player I know a lot of people are commenting about is Kalen King. Here's a clip of him running through a defensive back drill. I was interested to see that last week, Gregory Jr., a new signing from, I think, 2 weeks ago, was getting a lot of the nickel reps at even first team and second team. It's kind of confusing because I thought Kalen King would be getting those reps. I think he does translate into a nickel corner well at the NFL level. We saw him last year in camp make a couple plays, get an interception on Jordan Love, and then it's kind of been radio silence since then. And if for some reason the Packers do end up moving on from Jair Alexander, Kalen King does have a better pathway to make this roster, but it's going to be an uphill battle. I think there's a lot of guys, including like Micah Robinson, who they drafted in the 7th round, he's going to have to fight against to make this roster. But I know a lot of people like Kalen King and what he could potentially bring to this defense, so he's going to need a big camp. One position group that I feel like there's no question behind or no worry behind is the safety group. Here's a Xavier McKinney going through that drill. I feel like we are so loaded at the safety position. If you consider Javon Bullard a safety, I know he drops down to nickel a lot like he did last season, but the Packers now have Nate Hobbs, who could potentially do that more than keeping Javon Bullard back at safety. And then you also have Evan Williams running through the same drill here. You know, he showed starter quality play last year as a, fourth round rookie, which is very intriguing there as well. You also have Katana Ladapo, who they drafted in the 5th round. You have a ton of depth. Zane Anderson in that safety room. That's like the one position on defense where you're going, hey, we're good there. Like, we know what we have. This is going to be one of the best safety groups in the entire NFL with Bullard, McKinney, Evan Williams, Zane Anderson, and Oladapo. And speaking of Javon Bullard, he is back at practice this week. Last week he was at practice. He went through warmups, but he didn't participate in team sessions. Don't know why. Again, the injuries aren't disclosed. Here's a slow-mo clip of Javon Bullard, a player that split a lot of snaps between safety and nickel defender last year. Not common for a rookie player to come right in and play, a ton of snaps at 2 very different positions there. So, he stepped up to the plate, and I know he had some rough games and some inconsistent showings, but I'm very interested to see what they're going to really implement him as this year with the signing of Nate Hobbs, right? If Nate Hobbs is going to play a lot of nickel corner on pure passing downs, or we're going to have Javon Bullard as more of like a box safety on early down to help against the run, and then maybe come off on pure passing downs, and Evan Williams is at safety deep next to X in a 2-deep look. I don't really know. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What is your projection for Javon Bullard here in year 2? So those are all the clips I have from day 2 of OTAs for the Green Bay Packers. Again, there's been more than just 2 OTA practices, but this is the second and final one open to the media. So we don't really know what happened in all the other practices. We can only take from the ones that we were able to see, last Wednesday and then today. And this is the final OTA open to the media. But again, we have mandatory minicamp a week from today. I think it's on June 10th. So we'll get some more clips, some more updates from those practices as well. Really appreciate you guys coming by to the video. Again, go click subscribe if you want to stay in the loop with everything Packers this offseason, and hit the like button on the way out if you did enjoy the video. It helps support the channel a ton. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.